EdTech Mondays Uganda is supported by the MasterCard Foundation Center for Innovative Teaching and Learning in partnership with the Innovation Village. Welcome to the latest edition of EdTech Mondays. The show is supported by the MasterCard Foundation Center for Innovative Teaching and Learning in partnership with the Innovation Village. I'm excited to be here for yet another exciting conversation on adopting innovative approaches in regards to, personalized learning. So welcome, and we do have a great panel of speakers joining us. On my immediate left is Mr. William Tendo. I want to give you a chance to introduce yourself to us.
Thank you, Sandra. My name is William Tendo. I am currently the Business Development Manager at a company called QuestLift. QuestLift leverages technology, good teachers, and media, things like video, self-marking assessments, in order to deliver quality secondary school education at scale around the country.
Great. Thank you. We're glad to have you on the panel. Shamim, we're excited. Shamim Nirere, the only lady on the panel. Okay, apart from me. So welcome.
Thank you very much, Sandra. I'm Shamim Nirere. I lead the team at Easy Education as a technical lead education and the lead curriculum personnel. We believe in bettering learning outcomes for all children in Uganda to achieve the much needed competence in the 21st century. We do this through setting up low-cost innovation spaces in underserved communities. We do this through leveraging technology through various EdTech solutions to scale our programs to last-mile children across Uganda. And we do this through also supporting schools to better their learning outcomes right in the classrooms through their curriculum support, because we have changes on curricula and the teacher is really at the center of changing education. So we believe in empowering the teacher in the classroom. I'm very happy to be here.
The teacher is at the center of changing the whole system, if I should sum it that way.
Yes.
And guess what? We do have a teacher on the panel today. So that is Mr. Taban Hakim, also known as Teacher Taban.
Oh, thank you
Glad
very
to have
much,
you on the panel.
Sandra, and it's great to meet you, ladies and gentlemen. Taban Hakim is my name, a practicing professional teacher at Horizon International School, Uganda, based in Jinja. There I lead a team of science teachers. I'm the head of the department for science teachers, and I'm happy to be here. I also have a platform called teachertabanis.com, where I also use the technology in my teaching.
And you're actually going to set the pace for this conversation. We want to start with you as a teacher, for example, when we are talking about adaptive learning strategies or technologies. What does it really mean to you from where you sit as a teacher?
Thank you very much, Sandra. I'll go way back in time. In the 1980s, there was a famous psychologist by the name of Benjamin Bloom. Benjamin Bloom carried out a study concerning the outcomes of learning. And he categorized these in three. We have what we call the conventional learning. We have the mastery learning, and then we have the one-on-one. From his study, he found out that someone who does mastery, whereby we do a lot of testing, retesting until when a concept is learned, a person who does that, the students, they are 84% at an advantage of grasping concepts taught in the classroom. And then one-on-one carries or takes 94%.
Well, I would like just to get your perspective as a teacher again. What have you used personalized, any personalized teaching module in your world of teaching? Personally,
to me, I've used this. How have I used this? When, for example, I'm teaching any topic in math and physics, you can have like a video playing in class, and then you brainstorm as a class about this. In the process of the teaching and learning process, still you can have questions, you can have engagements, whereby you continuously communicate between you, the teacher, and the students. And in the whole process, trying to find out how is the student trying to grasp the content that is being taught. And at the end of it all, you can give an extra assignment, an extra exercise for this particular student to go back and use this information, maybe a video, maybe extra materials to be done outside of the class.
Shamim and Nirere, what has been your experience with personalized learning?
Personalized learning, especially using EdTech, mostly right now, I can say most adults across very many fields are sort of taking upskilling courses that upskill them in their work. For example, if I'm doing work, I've personally gone back to learn, say, project management on various platforms like Coursera. Some are free, some are you pay to get certification. I've had my experience learning from a platform like TESA. TESA is Teacher Education for Sub-Saharan Africa. It's personalized. You go and learn what you want to learn, and you pace yourself. So we've seen so many adults doing this, but even in the classrooms, we have had platforms which globally are doing this for learners, and they offer curricula that can make sense even to a Ugandan learner.
Thank you so much, Shamim. Mr. William Tenbo, what has been your experience with personalized learning in respect to EdTech?
My experience comes from the space of QuestLift especially. We don't believe that there is a kid that is learning forgive me for trying to say, maybe less smarter than someone else. We believe that maybe they just understand it a little bit slower than the rest, right? So in a class where a teacher is dealing with 50, sometimes 100 students, the one-on-one attention is very difficult to find. But here, the content has already been recorded, so you can pause, take some notes, you can rewind if you haven't really understood it, you can really engage with the content, which makes it second nature in your learning process. So between self-paced and convenience, that is where the magic happens.
Looks like from your perspectives that the benefits of integrating personalized learning and EdTech tools are so many.
Yeah.
But then we cannot speak about, EdTech or even personalized learning without speaking directly about the digital divide or equitable access to internet and the like. William, how do we navigate this challenge that we still have? For example, for people who still can't access internet.
Yeah. So here is the bigger picture. For EdTech to succeed, there are two aspects mainly, right? There is the LMS and the learning management system that carries the content that you have. That's one aspect in the whole, right? And then the next is the device that you're going to use, right? And after that, there is the whole internet of things, because you can't deliver up-to-date information without having the internet involved, right? So you have to speak towards, during like COVID, for example, there were some zero-rated EdTech solutions that were put aside by MTN and Airtel in order to try and deliver education last mile. And as for QuestLift, for example, our price point is 25,000 shillings per month, which is less than 1,000 shillings a day, right? But the child will say, also that data that I have to put to,
Yes.
So it's really a pain point. So there are some conversations that are happening behind the scenes where people are lobbying government to put some pressure maybe on UCC and some of these stakeholders to try and maybe subsidize, if not completely make it free, subsidize the cost of internet. So with access to the internet and the devices getting a bit cheaper, where you can at least make a down payment of 50,000 and struggle and try and see if you can get the 25,000 shillings. I think that's the way you can try and help the digital divide.
And maybe speaking about the digital divide, it's a conversation like I know you're saying it's happening behind the scenes. But Shamim, for example, if you are to add your 2 cents onto this conversation, how do we narrow this gap to ensure that these personalized learning initiatives, which seem to bring about brilliant results at the end of the day, can also benefit, people that are not able to access internet?
Okay, so for me, I believe that some of the things are just policy issues.
Yeah.
if the government woke up and really said that we want to transform our education by using technology in classrooms, just give a directive and it will be done. Because I'll give an example that we have schools that and I already said this, we have schools in sub-counties which are fully equipped with computers, but these computers are not used. They would rather be covered than allow students to use them. And we have we have curriculum changes. The government has done the most to change the curriculum, and the new curriculum really empowers research, student-led kind of learning. So it's just a government taking initiative. So we need young people to have, we need every classroom to have this access. And it's up to the school, just the way it is up to you to get a license or to have trained teachers to say what tools can we use, because there are so many tools. Because teachers already have smartphones, they have their own personal data, they are accessing different social media, even learners, even the administrators. So if you ask them to access these EdTech platforms, they are going to do that. And there are so many which are free, which can just be accessed. So it's just a matter of asking compliance from schools to say, yes, I understand we have a digital divide, but Sandra, even in the deepest villages, we have that youth that has a smartphone. People have smartphones in their hands. They might not have computers, but they have
We do have a
smartphones.
category of actually students who have to walk miles and miles to go to school, who
Yes.
have no idea actually what even internet looks like.
Sandra, I come from a deep village. I know we have deep villages in Uganda, but again, it's let's put power back in the hands of administrators and teachers. Let's ask them to make it as part of the way you prepare your lessons to teach, the way you pick research and textbooks. Also ensure that in every week at least you have an EdTech class you introduce to your learners. Even the seed schools, which are the deepest schools from access, the teacher can be empowered. At least give this teacher power to do this in their classroom, like you pick on different tools.
Let us get the thoughts of Teacher Taban. When it comes to digital divide, how do we ensure equitable access to these personalized learning platforms? For example, we are talking about high rates of internet costs. People cannot afford smartphones or cannot even get access to all these platforms that provide all these personalized learning tools. How then do we navigate that?
Thank you very much. From my experience, I've taught both the national curriculum, that is UNEB,
Yes.
and the Cambridge system. I started my career from Seta High, where I headed the science department as well, physics department. And one of the ways that we could simply narrow down that gap is, first of all, like she said, we have to make sure that the teachers actually use some of these gadgets here. We can simply request that teacher to do the rest a favor, and they use that.
And they share.
And they share. And they share. The reason I'm saying that is because while we are teaching, we know before COVID, some of these technologies are hard to get, they're expensive, and we're not exposed. As COVID came, and even after COVID, we actually find that the students whom we're teaching right now, some of the students, I may say, they are much more exposed to some of these technologies than us. Take, for example, TikTok. Personally, I do YouTube videos, and I'm somewhere, some skills in editing those videos there. TikTok, I've not been there, but you can see a student from nowhere has a TikTok video edited so well, even if the teacher cannot do it. In other words, what I'm trying to say is that as we're delivering in classes or teaching in classes, let's empower these students. In those categories, there may be a student who's knowledgeable, who's very good at maybe explaining. There may be a student who's at least somehow well off among the rest. So as you're giving these activities here, they can share. They can share. And the digital divide, coming back to your question, among those students, maybe if they're 10, they're having a common activity. One can be having a smartphone, maybe from home, and they can use that. But all the same, everything's coming from the government, which is doing very much in supply, distributing electricity, There are those programs, wealth creation programs, the MIOGA, PDM, blah, blah. The government doing its part. It's upon us to do our part as well. And even the teachers have to be, I don't want to use the word forced, but at least to encourage them.
To embrace.
To embrace the changes.
Well, speaking of government, I think we'll be taking a short break briefly, but the government recently has invested in the recently released financial year budget. It released 246 billion, and that will be invested in digital transformation and ICT. And also we are looking at 2.497 trillion shillings that is being invested in education. When we come back, we want to speak directly to that and how EdTech, platforms, are they benefiting from the budget? Are we looking at a brighter future for EdTech platforms in this country or not, and how then do we strategize to ensure that this process is accelerated? We'll take a short break, but once again we want to encourage you to be part of our community by simply scanning the QR code that you are seeing on the screen, and you get extra information on what EdTech is all about, and you probably get to know where to go, how to be assisted, or how you can also participate on the show, or even get to learn more about EdTech initiatives that are happening in the country. But there is also going to be a link, so you simply have to follow the link and get more information on EdTech Mondays. All that is just for you to be part of our community. We'll take a short break, and EdTech Mondays will return shortly. EdTech Mondays Uganda is supported by the MasterCard Foundation Center for Innovative Teaching and Learning in partnership with the Innovation Village. Welcome back. Glad to know you're still watching EdTech Mondays. The show is supported by the MasterCard Foundation Center for Innovative Teaching and Learning in partnership with the Innovation Village. Now, this month of June, we are speaking about how to integrate personalized learning in EdTech development. And earlier we spoke about, the digital divide and of course various challenges that the EdTech space is facing in integrating personalized learning, but also the opportunities that exist and the benefits of it. But now we want to speak directly about the budget, which was recently unveiled. And I want to pose this question to Mr. William. We are looking at 246 billion Ugandan shillings that has been invested in digital transformation and ICT. We are also looking at 2.497 trillion Ugandan shillings that has been invested in education. If we are to look at probably the previous budget allocations and to looking at the future ahead and the ongoing challenges that we are working with, has the government in a way prioritized EdTech in any of the budget allocations? Would you say so?
Thank you, Sandra, for this. I like the way you married the education budget with a digital transformation budget, because there's two aspects to EdTech, right?
Yes.
Education and the technology bit. So sometimes it's weird to know where exactly do we stand? Are we
EdTech.
As EdTech? Are we supposed to report to the Ministry of Education and Sports? Are we supposed to go to
Ministry of ICT?
ICT, Ministry of STI, Science, Technology and Innovation? So within that whole space, there is that wondering of exactly what are we going to do. But let's get back to education first. I want to commend the government for growing the budget towards education at the very least. Because if you look at it, some secondary schools have been put up. There are 60 secondary schools that are being renovated and trying to improve them. And also this new curriculum that has come in, which emphasizes things like personalized learning and adaptive learning models, is going to be expanded, and the enrollment is going to take a higher precedence. So we commend them in that aspect. But when it comes to EdTech and education especially, if you're building infrastructure, things like brick and mortar buildings can only get you so far in the direction that you want to go in order to create equitable education across the country. So my solution would be maybe if the Ministry of ICT, Ministry of STI, and the Ministry of Education could come together and figure out how to put skilling and scaling education EdTech solutions. For example, is there education that's doing 21st century skills for kids? We have other people like WALE who are using education, VR technology to teach things like how to assemble a car instead of actually paying for a TVET. So we're looking, if the government could set aside a fund, let's say 5 or 10% of what they have, just specifically to pick out solutions that can scale education towards people who don't have it currently. I think that would be great.
What are your thoughts on one, the budget that we're looking at this year in terms of ICT and digital transformation and also education, but also EdTech in general?
Okay.
Is the government prioritizing this sector, or does it still really need to do more?
I think we give credit to the government. First of all, I would like to focus more on the curriculum, the new curriculum support. And you see that in the budget there, actually, it's a priority.
Yes.
Promoting the new curriculum and other curriculum changes, because I understand that the A-level curriculum is also being worked on and almost being rolled, and also basic education will be in the works soon. I appreciate that the government is going to invest in bettering the implementation, because whereas at the beginning of 2020, the new curriculum came through and it actually promotes a lot of this personalized learning and adaptive methods of learning, the implementation has been a major disaster. And because of COVID, the disruptions of COVID, but also because a new curriculum, really, you have to do a lot of training. You have to get buy-in from the teachers, from other stakeholders, and it has to be done well. Currently, it's not being done well, and that's a fact. So we might even be losing the learning outcomes that we were getting in the old curriculum at the hands of the new curriculum that is not being done well.
Let's hear the thoughts of the teacher in this regard. What are your thoughts on the budget allocation to education, to digital transformation and ICT?
From personal experience, this year, in April, we organized a teachers' workshop, online workshop, a webinar. It was me, teachertabanis.com, and my friends at Seta High School. We were looking at distributing this information to up-country teachers, given the fact that some of the seminars that we held, very many teachers from Central actually turned up. But those ones coming from up-country, most of them never had the chance to come and attend. So what we did was we saw a gap, and we said that how can we assist those in the up-country areas in Uganda. So what we did, we organized that webinar there, and teachers from all over the country came on board. They attended. Some of them, there were not very many numbers. Some numbers attended from west, from north, from east, and some from central. But one of the biggest challenges that we faced was that teachers were crying of internet data. The costs were so high. Because the event was supposed to last for a whole day, some who came up, attended for some few hours, they dropped off. Still, someone could attend, then go off, on, off. So, instability in the internet connection was also a challenge. The government came up with a plan to check on the teachers' attendance in the rural schools, whereby they could use the thumbprint registration. But still, up to now, some teachers still don't go there. In other words, it's as if it is not so effective.
Shamim, does that speak to some of to the issue mentioned actually earlier when we had gone for a break of mindset? Could you please actually add to what Teacher Taban is saying?
Yeah, I still feel like this is what I would suggest, because I've seen that we have, and government has continued to cut this country into smaller units, districts, and the argument or the reason has always been to decentralize service delivery. So if we could let districts actually do their job and say, let's give districts scorecards and give them targets, and we evaluate these targets twice in a year, mid-year and end-year, to see how are you performing. Because if we are saying that they are biometrics, you have to put in to see that we are curbing the absenteeism. Why are we not holding the district education officer and inspectors of schools accountable to account why are these not yielding the outcomes, because we need to also hold them accountable and say that in your school, let's map your community, map your district and say what are the challenges in this community and what needles do we want to move this financial year as a district.
Well, many thanks to our great panel of speakers. And before we go, I just want again to give them just a second, to tell us the benefits, We've talked a lot about them, but I just want us to, to say them out again. The benefits of integrating adaptive learning methods or strategies in EdTech tools. Teacher Taban, I just want to give you this opportunity to speak to a viewer who's watching us. It could be the government, it could be a parent, it could even be a student. Why are we this Monday evening? Why are we actually talking about, incorporating the adaptive teaching methods in our day-to-day
Thank
education?
you very much. Thank you very much, Sandra, once again. And one of the very many advantages, number one, platforms like QuestLife, like teachertabanis.com and very many others, you can access the content 24/7. You can always study at the convenience of your 24/7, in other words, at any place, at any time. Let the learner appreciate the role played by the internet, and he or she can learn something from that, in that when he or she has a product, you can always leverage on that technology and very many others.
Shamim, your thoughts?
These adaptive tools
Yes.
really help the learner to learn from the entire world. You have the knowledge from the globe in your hands. You have like a whole university or a whole school in your hands. So you can learn way beyond the four walls of your classroom. It enables the learners to develop the digital skills and collaboration, which are vital in today's world. We are collaborating remotely with the world, with people across the world. We are saying that the digital tools or digital literacy today is as important as literacy and numeracy for today's child. So they are learning that. And it also helps them to also, beyond being consumers of knowledge, they can also create knowledge. So I would like to just remind parents that it is important, teachers also, it is very important, and it is a way that can bridge different gaps in our education, which we keep saying. So it's very, very necessary.
Thank you so much, Shamim. Over to you, William.
Yeah, dear viewer, I am going to speak to you from a side of passion. First things first, education is a lifelong journey. There's never going to stop learning. Even doctors continue updating their medical practices. Let me give you a good example. Steve Jobs dropped out of college just so that his mom would not pay college tuition for him. But he took a class in calligraphy. And this calligraphy has ended up being what we call the fonts in all the Times New Roman, monotype, cursiva. If he had never taken that class and personalized towards his passion, we would never have had things like formats.
So thank you so much to my great panel of speakers. It's been amazing having you here today to speak about a very interesting topic that affects each one of us. And I like the fact that, Shamim, you said even now you're still learning. So meaning we are not just speaking about these tools, the adaptive learning tools for just the younger ones, but even us who still have a long way to go to understand our journey that we are trying to create for ourselves. But what really stands out for me is the fact that adaptive learning tools are here, and it's about time that we embrace them. The challenges still do exist, from the internet costs to even the mindset of people embracing them. That's an area that we have to really dive into. But these have been our thoughts. What are your thoughts? And this is where we turn to you and we ask you to be part of our community and share with us your thoughts using the hashtag EdTech Mondays on our social media platforms. Send in your comments on what you really think. He did mention something very important, that why don't we allow phones in classes to ensure that, this is better facilitated. So is that a conversation that you'd want us to have? We still have the need for proper or positive or, good policy interventions by the government to facilitate the process and actually accelerate it. So the topic can be endless. We can continue speaking about it forever, but would like you to be part of it. And do remember to also sign up by following the, scanning the QR code that is on your screen, and also the link that has been just, on below the screen, so that you get get to learn more about EdTech Mondays. And us over here, we want to say thank you for being for being a wonderful audience, but we want to encourage you to follow all our pages and learn more about EdTech Mondays and also be part of the community. Thank you once again. I have been your host, Sandra Kahomza Twinabudi.